Okay, so this is a part 2 of a Q&A. I, on Instagram, asked if anyone had questions about anything, and I would answer them on my YouTube channel. And I got a ton of response, mainly in 2 categories. One was motherhood, which I shot and I had posted earlier this week. And then a lot of Catholic questions. So I'm gonna do those today. And there's a couple other like kind of random questions. So I'm gonna answer those today. So here is the first question. What is your advice to struggling Catholics who try to become practicing again? I think, oh my goodness. So there's a couple of questions like similar to this. And I would just say, you know, one foot in front of the other, like go to confession, go to mass. If you're looking for something for like more apologetics, I would look at Catholic Answers. They have a ton of great things if you want to learn the Catholic faith and why do we believe what we believe. Scott Hahn is a great one. He converted to the Catholic faith from he was a pastor of a church, a Protestant church, and he kind of clicked with him that the Catholic faith is the Catholic, like the real deal. And so I would say him. If you're looking into like you want Bible, like to learn more about biblical, like the Catholic faith and the Bible, Jeff Cavins is really good. He's done the Bible timeline and he's on Ascension Presents as well. I think he still is on there, but he's really good. He went to my parish growing up in Minnesota, and he's really, really good, very knowledgeable with the Bible. And I will see if I can link some books down below and some like things that if you're a reader, things you might want to read. Also, Rediscovering Catholicism, really good. That's by Matthew Kelly, super, super good book. Just talking about the Catholic faith and all the things the Catholic faith have done and helped the world to do, and just phenomenal, really, really good. EWTN, if you have cable. Otherwise, I believe you can watch them online. Mother Angelica started them. They're really, really good. Let's see. There's also Catholic Answers. Father Mike Schmidt, he is really good at just talking about life, just, you know, things that you might be interested, things, you know, morally that you're wondering what to do and stuff. So yeah, so those are just ways. I mean, like I said, go to mass, go to confession first if you haven't been for a long time, and just be regular with confession, because confession is so healing. And, you know, Pope John Paul II went every single day just to be pure and to be in the closest union with God that he could be. So confession is huge. I've heard that Padre Pio say to go once a week to confession, whereas I've heard, I think from Fatima, Our Lady say go once a month. So I would say the more the merrier if you can go to confession. But that's a great question, and try to find fellowship. I know that sometimes it's hard depending on where you live, but fellowship is a big deal. That has helped me so much in my faith, just people asking questions and me being like, yeah, what is the answer to that, you know, and stuff. Because the Catholic faith has so much. There's just so much. It's so amazing, and you could just theology, like all this stuff. It's so phenomenal. I hope that helped, but there's a lot of really good resources out there. Okay, so the next question is there any belief or position held by the church that you either disagree or struggle with? This is a great question, and there are things that I don't agree with how the Catholic Church has dealt with the whole scandal. Don't agree with that at all. But as far as like teachings of the church, I'm guessing that's what she's saying, beliefs or positions. Anything that I've just really struggled with, I've dove into wondering, why does the church believe what they believe? You know, whether it's gay marriage, abortion, birth control. Like, you know, it's so funny because sometimes I feel like people think birth control is because all these men of the church can't have sex, so they want us to, you know, not have sex or whatever it is. But that's so not the truth. There's a reason, a specific reason why the church believes what they believe on everything, including gay marriage, including, you know, all these controversial things. So whenever I questioned it, I would dive into why does the church believe this, and really study it and look into it, and it clicked for me, like why they did that. And I think it's important to know that the Catholic Church is there to help us to form a conscience, and their only goal is to get us to heaven. That is their goal, is they want us to get to heaven. And so through the Holy Spirit, the popes, you know, writers, the encyclicals, the doctors of the church, like all of these different amazing people that were filled with the Holy Spirit, they are helping us form that conscience. Okay, here is another one. What do you recommend for someone that struggles with anxiety, depression to do when they have panic attacks and are contemplating suicide? This hurts my heart to even just read it. I've had several people in my life who have struggled with that, and I feel for them so much. I have not dealt with, I mean, I've had blues in my life where I'm just like, can't find things that are really make me happy, but I wouldn't say like depression. Never have I ever contemplated suicide or thought of it, to be honest, but depression is something, and anxiety. I've struggled with anxiety just lightly, but where, you know, I think I talk about it in a video about, I was so afraid of marrying the wrong person that when I met Eric, I would have panic attacks daily where I like would throw up and I couldn't get out of bed. Like it was very, very weird and out of character for me. So, which, you know, I feel like a lot of people would say, oh, he's not your, you know, he wasn't your vocation, but he was my vocation, and I feel like that was spiritual warfare. So I feel like it's very hard, like everything you have to like discern differently. But as far as depression, so like I said, I've had the blues before, but when I got pregnant with Thomas, so Eric and I tried, you know, for almost 2 years to have a baby with no success. And so once I found out I was pregnant, you would think I would be overfilled with joy, but the hormones in my mind were just so off that I didn't care if I lived or not. Like it was so weird. I had zero emotion. Like it was so bizarre, nothing, just flatline. And my husband, it was hard because my husband did not understand. He was kind of like annoyed with it, you know, like I just didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't care to do anything. Like I barely wanted to eat. Like it was just very out of character for me because I'm naturally a pretty bubbly, happy person. And it was literally like the day that I was getting out of my first trimester that it was gone, like just evaporated. But I just remember thinking like, I cannot believe people live like this. Like it was something that I've never experienced in my life until that happened. And I just, since that day, just have a special place in my heart for people who struggle with depression. I seriously do. I just, that is, I mean, and the thing is, that's something that you can offer up to God. I know that that is just probably something so painful, like to have to deal with in your life, but to find the good in it is, you know, like you could bring a lot of people closer to God through our suffering. In the Catholic faith, we believe in redemptive suffering, which means if you suffer and you offer it up to God and pray for all the souls in purgatory or the conversion of somebody, or, you know, whatever it is, God hears that. And there's a connection with God, you know, with Jesus and his walk to Calvary, you know, his carrying the cross, him dying on the cross. There's a connection that you have that is probably very, very real, like that connection with God and Jesus, what he had to go through. So Pope John Paul II always said this. He said, do not waste your suffering. And that's what I love about the Catholic faith, is everybody suffers. We all suffer in different ways, and we all deal with our suffering differently, but we all can have our suffering and glorify God with that suffering, you know, and stuff. So that's what I would encourage you to do. I mean, obviously, if it's really bad, you might need counseling, that might help, or, you know, maybe there's a medication. I'm not a big advocate on medication, but I mean, if that means helping you, like, then that's what it is, you know, like that's something you have to discern. But my heart just breaks for you and anybody who suffers with that. That is, I can't even fathom. And so I will pray for you, and I pray that all the viewers will pray for you and anyone suffering with that as well. Okay, here's another one is, have you ever gone through periods of your faith where your faith was not strong? Have you ever had any doubts? Yeah, I have. I mean, for the most part, I've been a pretty devout Catholic my whole life. My mom was a big part of that, but you know, the Catholic faith, my love for God became my own, you know, and there were definitely times where I had a hard time, you know, that I've been more worldly and I've struggled with worldliness. And I think that was probably one of my biggest struggles, honestly, was my worldliness and wanting, you know, whatever it was, you know. I used to read People magazine all the time, and I used to watch E-News and gossipy things, like, so that were not good. But there was a specific time where I almost left the Catholic faith. And it is very bizarre. I know it was spiritual warfare, but it actually had to do with where Jesus was lost for 3 days, you know, and Mary finally found him in the temple. And I was just mad that God would do that to Mother Mary. And my response, like what I thought I would do, was to leave the Catholic faith. Like, what kind of God would do that to, you know, Mother Mary, who did nothing but love you and stuff. So so that's kind of bizarre, but like I literally went through a ton of spiritual warfare, like, and it was less than a day. But I was like, I'm getting in a car and I'm moving to California. This is when I lived in Minnesota. Like, that's how I'm gonna deal with it. I'm just gonna leave my life and just go do crazy things and just, I don't know what I was thinking. I was all over the place, but the funny thing is, I literally didn't know what else to do but go to adoration. And I talked to, you know, a friend of mine about it, and it was just like so intense. But obviously, like, when you like give your life to the world, you will never be fulfilled. You never ever will be fulfilled. Yeah, you'll have like that instant gratification, but that deep peace that comes within you will not be there. And I've learned that. I feel like I've been blessed with knowing that from an early age. And so I knew that the world could not give me what my heart's desire was, which was God. So that's that. Yes, I have struggled with that. How would you recommend involving the wider, partly non-believing family in encouraging a child's faith? My side is all Catholic. My husband is very supportive, agnostic, but he comes from a pagans. Oh, okay. That is a good question. I would say, you know, it's hard because forcing people to believe what you believe just rarely ever works. In fact, it usually does the opposite. People are usually turned off and just want nothing to do with it. I've noticed, like, when I live the faith and I live it joyfully, that's where people are drawn to it. They want that. And And I mean, for me, it's natural. Like, I just am a joyful person because I have God. I need nothing more. But I think that's what people long for, is like that joy and stuff. So I would just encourage you to, you know, to talk about it if you feel called to talk about the Catholic faith, and just kind of feel it out. Like, if they seem interested, if they don't, obviously pray for them. Like, I don't underestimate what God can do. Like, God can convert anybody, and I understand like children are involved and stuff, but you know, maybe you could give them little presents of like things that will encourage the faith, and hopefully without offending their parents, because you don't want to turn the parents off either. That's great that your husband is so supportive of you. That is in itself such a blessing. So I mean, just like live the faith and talk about it if people want to, and if they don't, it's okay. Just, you know, Saint Francis of Assisi said, preach the gospel, if necessary, use words, you know. And so be the gospel to the world, to your family and stuff. So that's what I would say. How did your husband propose? He proposed at the Basilica in DC, which is his favorite church of all time. And so he proposed right under the big Jesus up at the very front. And he was so nervous. He started to cry. That's the second time I've ever seen him cry. And it was really sweet, very romantic. And I just love that he proposed in a Catholic church. How beautiful is that? How did you find your wedding dress? It's not a very fun story, but David's bridal, like it was just like one of the first ones I tried on. It was beautiful, it fit me just right, and I could afford it. So that is the one. Sorry, it's not that interesting, but it's the truth. Other than RCIA, what other ways can Catholics be reintroduced into the faith again? So I think that kind of goes with the first question. So definitely EWTN, Catholic Answers, read. There's so many good books. I will, like I said, put some down below. I'll try to think of, like, Rediscovering Catholicism is I think that's really good. It's a very basic one to get you kind of reintroduced and like excited about the Catholic faith. So I'll link that and some other ones down below. And I think that's it. So that is the Q&A for the Catholic faith part. And thank you so much for joining me, and I really enjoyed this. Thank you for asking all those questions. And that is on my Instagram. I do a lot of videos and stuff on my Instagram, so if you're not following, you might want to. It's a Catholic mom's life. It's a lot of fun over there. I love, that's probably my second favorite social media is Instagram. I love Pinterest and Instagram. Those are kind of my two favorite, and of course YouTube. But anyway, until next time, I will see you all later. God bless. Bye.